Hey, good morning. Welcome to the 5 a.m. Mester Scrum Show. What a day! Another opportunity for SpaceX to launch their vehicle. I'm so distracted. It's ridiculous. Anyway, hope you're doing well. I wanted to share a story about what Agile was really about. I gave a session the other day and I gave an example of one of my old programs dealing with a very large corporation that I was working with and how Agile is really about lost opportunity and impacted by risks that the corporation or company or the team doesn't look in because they're so worried about day-to-day grunge work. So I want to talk about that and what Agile really is about. Share a little story. I put up on the picture. I had this leg. I was looking at, and I'm going to give a story about uh, some vehicles I had worked with the army and lost opportunity, but I couldn't find a tank anywhere in my kids' stuff. So I found this Lego and it was really interesting. The fact that lost opportunity, and you notice it's missing a whole front of the car. So is this really done? Let's talk about that. All right. So it's 5 a.m. Master Scrum Show. I am Greg Mester, Scrum Master and Agile Coach. And we talk about Scrum and Agile in a very practical and tactical way. So they can bring value to the customer, not work crazy hours to get the value, and have a little fun along the way. And the story goes. So here's the story. Well, one, I want to congratulate SpaceX, wish all the engineers the best. I know they want to launch this thing so bad. They're just dying. I want to thank Jennifer Steelman for last night. It's up there. It's in YouTube. It's in LinkedIn. It's in Facebook. Links. I even put the podcast up there from the show, the meetup from last night, where we talked about Kanban. She did a really neat little exercise on kind of showing the speed and what whip work in progress does, and it leads into this discussion also, which I didn't figure it out until this morning, how the company that I was working with, how they missed out on this giant opportunity. I'm going to run through the numbers and explain to you how being late and not timely and not thinking of the opportunity that was lost in this adventure for this company, what it really cost them, and why worrying about WIP and dealing with all these small or all these different customers and stuff will cause you to miss out on a bigger, grander opportunity. So looking at this Lego I have here, it's missing the whole front end for those people in podcasts. This big yellow bus doesn't look like a tank at all. But what I find interesting is like, we could say I done all this part, but I'm missing this. Can I sell it, right? What am I missing out? What's the lost opportunity by this Lego vehicle? And it was done one point. I had them all done, and the kids have totally destroyed them, but missing the front end of the vehicle, right? So that kind of goes to this case. So in this case, what I was sharing was a lost opportunity and why lateness has this impact. And I want to argue with all these agile people, all these different, who cares about due dates? Those people are smoking dope. I'm gonna tell you that right now. Smoking dope. Um, that there is a thing about dates that have impact. You can't just go willy-nilly. You have to be focused on what you want to deliver and deliver the right thing. But there is reality where you just say, oh, it's like, we don't worry about any documentation, none. Or they take it to the damn extremes, which really annoys the crud out of me when these people and these coaches and these teachers take everything to the extreme. And it's like, no, it's not that. That's not real. And that's setting your people up for failure. So I'm going to walk through this process, why understanding timelines and due dates and getting stuff done and focusing is very important. And you can't lose sight of that along the way. And everyone, oh, I got all the time in the world. I'm like, that's how you get laid off, to be honest with you. And that's how your company becomes not the best company. So I got a trusty whiteboard and I got some notes because it involves math. So I had to do some math. So what it was, I was program manager for a nice contract. Let's just put it that way. And these companies, because it was a government contract, were getting paid for their work, which is like unseen in corporate world, right? And in business world, whatever. You don't get that capability. So it was for the military. I'm not giving you the numbers. So they had built this new computer, really cool computer, awesome piece of product, by the way. And yes, it was going to mature over time. And yes, it was going to get better, just like a Tesla, get better software or whatever. So each computer, so one computer, and please don't balk, was $25,000. Rough estimate, 25K. All right. So each vehicle took two of these computers, two per vehicle. So now that's 50,000. So for every vehicle, they would retrospect or remanufacture or upgrade or whatever, potential $50,000 in sales, right? For these two computers they want to add. Now, of this, each brigade in the army had about 100. I'm just giving rough estimates because they're not accurate. They're pretty close though. Each brigade had 100 vehicles per. So we have one brigade, and I spelt the bad thing is I spelled brigade wrong when I did a little spreadsheet for it and I spelled it wrong. So there's about 100 vehicles. Vehicles. I can't spell vehicles right. Vehicles, right? So if there's 100 vehicles, that is about, so per brigade is about $5 million in sales per BRGADEE brigade, right? So there's about $5 million in sales per brigade. Now, the way they got the timing done, they were late now. And I kept trying to tell them, you have to understand the government cycles. You have to understand the cycles which the government, like paving the streets. People, why do you do it now? Because they do a cycle. Every 7 years, the street people come through and repave the streets because they just get on the cycle. And you got to understand these cycles. And this is where the sales group and the managers didn't have foresight. They were so worried about nitpicking and stuff. And we'll get that. But I just want to show you lost opportunity. So stay with me here. So 5 minutes. There were 7 brigades in this for the National Guard. So we have 7 brigades, right? So that is what? $35 million. So that is $35 million. So yes, they were late, but they were on time to meet the reserves, and they have a potential sale of $35 million. What I had to explain to the executives here was that wasn't the big fish. The big fish was Big Army. Big Army, Big Army, Big A, Big Agile, had 21 brigades, right? So for 21 brigades, that's $105 million worth of sales. Lost or missed because they didn't make the timing window to get their stuff done. That's a big damn number. So they could have delivered $140 million worth of sales. That's the potential. Potential. If I can spell. That's the big number. That's 4x, right? Basically, yeah, 4 times. 4x what their $35 million sale was. So it's like 4 times as much, right? If you add it, it's like 4x, 4 times 30, whatever. So they missed out on that big number. Let's see if I can do this without the lights doing it. So that is the number. That's the lost opportunity. When I told that executive, do you think the VP was around for very long? They were pissed. Now, what am I talking about? So many companies are so worried about two things. Two things I'm going to give you. One, getting it, and the agility part is to be able to take advantage of that 4x and potential sales. That's the business agility. That's the agility. If we focus on this, we can get this. Yeah, we can make 35 because we're late, but if we're on time and we're done a little bit early, we have a potential to 4x that revenue. And this whole COVID thing is all that lost revenue because people aren't agile enough to do it. They're not thinking. Their two focuses were on cost savings. So a lot of, well, let me give another focus before I get cost savings, and I'll come into what people think agile is. So what the first thing, let's come back, not we'll do not do for it's part of the same thing, cost savings, but multitasking. So when I would walk through their factory, when I would walk through their line, they were spending resources engineering wise, fixing bugs and issues on existing lines or small things and stuff like that. So that drawled issues their thinking process to troubleshooting their problems they were having deploying their computers. And it was really, I mean, these things are really tested up. It's amazing all the levels of testing we did and how these things operate in the conditions that is required by the Army for them to operate the way they do. We revolutionized what was coming out. They spread their resources rather than focusing on it. Let's deliver this early. You know, they have multiple customers in there at the same time, which is fine, but you got to prioritize. Yeah, we're working on this, but if we get this done early, we can potentially return 4x on our investment. We're not even investment, the returns, just the sales alone before at 4 times. It's a what do we say? $140 million worth of sales. $140 million worth of sales, right? It's a big number that we missed out on because we were late, because we didn't focus and realize it's really important that we make this now because that is in the window, the time box that the government was shelling out all this money. And if you miss the window and you don't if you don't make the plan, this is where you got to know your customer. If you don't make the planning window, you ain't getting funded. You can ask all you want, but you're not going to get the money. So they missed their window. So because they were doing all this work and they didn't get it working, the government wasn't prepared to invest and put that in their line because they weren't sure if the finished product was going to be able to meet the production line as it was getting in there. So they didn't buy it at that time. They may have bought it now. I don't know. It's been years since I've done this. So they lost that opportunity because they were focused on multiple things. So many times people think that Agile is about, let's push the work through. Let's work with 20 different things at a time. No, it's about focusing on what's going to bring the most value to your customer. This is where people are missing out what Agile is. This is where these developers or these gurus and oh, we don't worry about time. We don't worry about deadline. What's a deadline? A deadline is you just lost $135 million worth of sales because you didn't make it and focus on what you were working on. Now, I know there's analogies like if we were doing Agile right, we'd be focused and we would deliver. Get it. But you missed out on that. The other thing that they focus so much more on Agile, which is really not true, is the ability to save money. Big freaking deal. Let's say I was able to shave off $1 million of development effort on that first $35 million to produce it, whether I save time, delivery, whatever, rather than spend that $1 million on let's fix this problem so we can deliver on time. They may have saved $1 million, but they lost 100. Hi bubbles, $105 million worth of sales. So kudos to you. Yeah, saved $1 million and lost out on making another $105 million. 105. That $1 million was 1%. That's terrible. Terrible. So that's what the Agile mindset is about. It's not about necessarily saving money and doing that. It's about taking advantage of business opportunity that's there. What do we got to do to put us in a good position to win that potential business? because it's 100 times X, 100X more than what you were saving. 100X, 100 times. Grant Cardone talks about 10X. I'm talking 100X. We're at the 15-minute mark, but that I wanted to share you. That's what Agile mindset is about, taking advantage and putting yourself in a good position to take advantage of that opportunity or avoid risk down the line. Avoid the risk of missing out on $105 million worth of sales. And I'm just giving you an example. It's not necessarily about nitpicking and saving money and the highest performing. How do we get the team? No, it's about focusing on it, getting delivery out there in front of the customer and getting the revenue. If you don't get the product in front of the customer, all your savings are worth squat. Look at all the companies that missed out on opportunity, right? So I wanted to share that with you today because I think it's important because these people don't teach this stuff. They talk about all this other stuff, saving money, the flow, all that stuff. And I'll give a part 2 on this of why I gave this conversation, and I'll do that tomorrow. Tomorrow's Friday. Yeah. No, I'll do it Monday. But what that is about. So with that, I want to wish you a great day. Think about the opportunities. Agile about freeing up mental capability to go after the bigger value. And I know I went over, it's like 16 minutes here, but I wanted to explain that to you. I want to wish you all the best. Happy scrumming. Bubbles is over here rolling around on my paper. And I just love it. Anyway, have a great day. And if you get a chance, check out the Kanban exercise. We had a good conversation. It was fun doing a little exercise, something you can do with your team. And then she said, it's trouble finding something that's small that you can try that's not like under 30 minutes long. And most places, most Kanban things are a couple hours long. So it's a nice little exercise that she came up with and designed for you to use. Anyway, take care. Have a great day and see you tomorrow.